In 1984, ex-KGB officer and Soviet director Uri Breznov revealed KGB's subversive tactics against Western society, saying, quote, "It takes 10 to 15 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years it requires to educate one generation of students in the country."
Postmodernists have hijacked that observation to say that, well, there's no real stability in viewpoint or value. Also, that value systems in and of themselves are oppressive and always pit the oppressor against the victim. I think you can make a reasonable case that the universities do more harm than good now. I think
a guy who used to teach at Harvard just says send him to trade school.
I think
I don't know the names of all the students here. We're just sitting
At this moment, I believe Dr. Bridges is answering a set of demands put forward by the protesters, and they have said that if he does not accept their demands, that there will be violence.
Most of us already know that too many of our university campuses are bad for our kids. Bad in the sense that they stifle critical thinking and replace it with a political and social ideology. But my question is why? Why are the most important institutions in the West? Why are the places where the new generations will learn about our country an objectively bad place to learn about different ideas? Why are they all so one-sided? Why do so many of them only allow the students to hear one point of view? And why does that one point of view, vocally and unapologetically, wish for the collapse of most of our cherished values? I will answer that question by bringing further attention to Uri Breznov, who, as you heard before, was an ex-KGB agent during the Soviet Union, who specialized in the misinformation and destabilization of foreign countries, or in other words, propaganda. And he would later become, quote, disgusted by the KGB as he escaped to the West in 1970. In the following video, Breznov predicts the decline of America in 4 stages.
When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country.
The normalization of political dissenters fighting openly in the streets is crucial in the destabilization of a country, because once we are no longer surprised by violence, we allow it to go further until the damage of a civil war has become irreversible. And you can expect a lot more of this kind of behavior in the future, with groups like Antifa and the alt-right continually planning and orchestrating violence upon the other. But one would expect to believe that at least some of the right who are bloodying up commies are attempting to defend the values that are in need of defending. But what those people fail to realize is that by placing too much emphasis on violence and by propelling the need of excessive physical attacks against detractors, they feed into the hands of those who truly are turning the screws. Because while their sights are set on people who don't actually have political clout, they ignore the elites above who are watching them with glee.
The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis.
This process begins when legitimate bodies of power cannot function, and instead artificial bodies are injected into society. This means that if we get to this stage, and some would say we already are, it would mean that non-elected committees can claim a kind of power on how to run your life, and if power is denied to them, they can take it by force. These will be the people who hold the banner of social justice. They will impose on you what you can say and do. while operating on their own as free agents.
And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized."
So what is the solution to this? How do we make sure that the people who want to destroy our societies, whether by ignorance or by malice, are not able to? Well, a good start would be to prop up the voices who attend universities, who are the minority voices, the ones who stand up for Western values and who are opposed to far-left radicalism. The solution to a thriving America is to find a way to reform our universities.
So basically America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism.
We have to be able to change the way our universities function, to not only allow dissenting voices, but to encourage them, to encourage reason, rationality, and Western values. So the way to save America is to save our universities, to stitch up the wounds of our country at its source. See you next time.